Hello and welcome to Poland. My name is Paweł and we are starting another episode of 3P. And today we're visiting Cemetery, what is a great commemoration of one of the biggest battles during the World War I, for sure the biggest on the Eastern Front. In 1915, beginning of May, there was a huge Battle of Gorlice, and after that time we have cemeteries like this. Here, project by Dusan Jurkowicz, one of 400 cemeteries which were built in whole area. This is a great example where we have around 170 tombstones, graves of Austrian-Hungarian soldiers. But Austrian-Hungarian, it doesn't mean that they were only Austrians or Hungarian. There were also a lot of Polish people, there were sometimes Serbs, Czechs and different nations which were in whole Austrian Empire. But among them you can find here also one very different in a shape, also different because of the religion. Mandelbrot was a Jewish soldier fighting in Austrian army. Most of victims of the war were unknown, so on most of those crosses you can find only an information to which army they belonged, only sometimes their names. And like on all of those cemeteries you can find a central monument, crosses and a little fence around, trees which were planted when the cemetery was created. But why it's here? Before the World War I there was no Poland. Here was Austrian-Hungarian Empire and to north Russian Empire. Russia started invading Austria, and the only possible way to go to south, to Budapest, to Vienna, was to go through Krakow. To west from here, mountains were natural border and they were protecting from their invasion. So in 1940 Russians were on borders of city of Krakow. But then Austrians organized a big offensive and they pushed back Russians to the line from here 100 kilometers north to Gorlice. Russians dug trenches, Austrians dug trenches, and they stopped for a few months. But then Austrians wanted to move on the war, so they took their army from the south, from Italy. They asked also Germans, who took their army from the Western Front, and then we had over 200,000 Austrians with Germans and around 80,000 Russians from Eastern side. And not like in most of battles during the World War I, here it was quite quick, and after few weeks Russians were pushed back far to east, to the line from the beginning of the war. And it was the most important battle on the Eastern Front, because Russians never more came so far back here to west. After the battle, thousands of bodies of soldiers were lying on hills surrounding this place. Soldiers from Poland, Czech, Italy, Austria, Hungary, Germany, Russia, all fighting in different armies. For example, Poles were fighting sometimes in Russian, German and Austrian army on one battlefield. But still, during the war, Austrians decided to organize cemeteries to bury all those people. There was a plan to create 400 cemeteries, which were divided in 10 districts. Every district had its own architect, sculptor, who was creating the idea of it. And on every of those districts there was one central cemetery. And this is one of those belonging to Nowy Żmigród district. There was a general plan and idea for creating those cemeteries, but the most important for sure was to bury it all together. Russian soldiers, Austrian soldiers, German soldiers. Here you can find more Russians, especially when you look at that kind of cross, buried in a mass grave with number of them who are lying here. Sometimes, if their name were known, they are put on the cross. But the shape is usually the same. Central cross or a shrine, and around it crosses, which means places of burials of people. and then a little fence. Different projects depending on the region, sometimes using more wood, sometimes it was stone, sometimes iron. And probably the most unique one, built using only stones, rocks from hills surrounding that place. My favorite, especially because of that cross in a central position. Here in woods you can find 60 Austrian and 20 Russian soldiers buried all together. Sometimes they were located on top of mountains, like for example this on Rotunda, where to get you need to hike for an hour. It took a lot of effort to create that huge project. They spent thousands of tons of timber, nails, rocks, even seeds to plant the grass. They were using labor of prisoners of war from Russia, mostly from Italy. It also looks like a very honorable project to give a respect to every soldier from all armies and bury them all together. But in real, it was also a propaganda. Austria was planning to win the war and then to show their power. And this is the end of this episode, so thank you for watching. Please remember to subscribe, leave a comment, and see you next time.